variable is. Okay, so in other words, we are now solving for a variable. Okay, we want to know what the value of the variable is. So we are not working with equations this evening. Mr. S will show you how to complete the square to solve for an equation when he comes back on Wednesday, I imagine. But as far as we are concerned this evening, I just want to go through the actual technique with you and show you how it is done. Okay, so very important. No, Zandasile, I'm not going to be your new teacher. Mr. S is still your teacher. If you do come back to Watobe next year in matric, then maybe I'll be your teacher. But for now, I'm not your teacher. All right, I'm just standing in for him because he is not well. All right, so before we move on, we need to understand what a perfect square trinomial is. Now, perfect square trinomials are something that you encountered last year in grade 10 for the very, very first time, all right? And something that we need to be able to do with our trinomials is we need to be able to factorize them. Is there anybody who is able to tell me how I would factorize number 1? If I had to factorize this expression, x squared plus 2x plus 1, how would it factorize? What would it look like? Go for it, Paul. You're welcome to unmute, or Label will unmute you. Sure, Bobby, go for it. I don't know where Paul went. You're welcome to unmute.
Miss Lee, my laptop was slow.
Oh, okay, it's all right. Go for it.
Hi, ma'am. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you just fine.
So ma'am would open 2 brackets and then would say x plus 2 in one bracket, and in the other bracket would say x plus 1.
Okay, all right. Fine, that's perfect. Now, what I want to do is I want to ask somebody else, all right? So, Barbie, is this how you would have done this question? Would you have said that this was the answer? You said you wanted to try. Would you write the same thing? There was someone called Barbie. Would yours look the same? Okay, I see there's some hands going up. Okay, iPhone, I'm sorry, I don't know your name, but I'm happy to take your answer. What would you say? Would you get the same answer here as in Paul?
No, ma'am, I would say x plus, I would say open 2 brackets, and then it's x plus 1, and then close the bracket, and then it's x plus 1 on the other bracket, and then it's going to be open bracket x plus 1, close bracket squared.
Lovely. Okay, perfect. 100%. That's exactly it. Okay, so it's a perfect square trinomial. So when it factorizes, the 2 brackets are going to be identical to one another. Okay, that's what makes it a perfect square trinomial. Right? So why don't you guys try number 2 and number 3? All I want from you is the final answer. I just want you to tell me what goes inside the brackets and that the bracket needs to be squared. All right, so there we go, Jada. I hope I said that correctly. Let's see what you guys get from factorizing these perfect square trinomials. Monica, would you like to ask a question?
No, ma'am, I wanted to give you the answer for number 2.
Oh, sorry, Monica. Okay, so Leah Borner's put an answer in there. That's really nice. And Jada.
My answer.
Yes, go for it. What was your answer?
So my answer is open bracket x minus 3 close bracket squared.
Beautiful. Okay, so the first one, x minus 3 squared. Fantastic. Okay, beautiful. Well done. Let's see. Amogelang, that's good. Isa, I hope I said that correctly. That's the right answer for question number 3. Zandisile, I'm not sure where you're getting the 9 from. Yes, Wanga, that's right. Carlin, that's right. Jade, it's okay. We all make mistakes, no problem. Pateko, what were you going to say? You're welcome to unmute and talk. That's right, Oratile and Leobona. I think that was just a typo.
Ma'am,
Yes, there we go.
I would say x plus 4 close brackets and then square.
Excellent, 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 excellent. Okay, so you're all really good at factorizing perfect square trinomials, which is fantastic, because that's got to be, you've got to be good at that skill, because it's one of the things that you're going to do, right? Now, sometimes you are not given a perfect square trinomial. You have to make the perfect square trinomial in order to complete the process of completing the square. Right? So that's what I want to get into now. All right. So we're part of the way there, because what you guys are doing, or what you're showing me you know how to do, is this bit over there. You can take a trinomial and you can write it as a perfect square. So we've got that part sorted out, right? What we need to worry about now is how to do the rest of it. So how to get this value in green over there on the end. Okay, so let's jump down and go and have a look at these expressions over here. Okay, and I'm going to do a couple of examples, and then I'm going to give you guys some questions to try. Now, in the first instance, if I just get that down on the page, I've got x squared plus 2x. When I complete the square, I need to make a perfect square trinomial. X squared plus 2x is not a perfect square trinomial. Right? So there is a relationship between the value in front of the x term and the very last term as well. Okay, so the way that it works is like this. If I now want to make x squared plus 2x into a perfect square, I have to complete the square by taking half of 2. So I'm taking half of the number in front of the x. So in this particular case, a is equal to 1, b is equal to 2, and incidentally, the value of c would be 0 in this case. So I take half of whatever b is, half of b, okay? In this case, it would give me 1. I take that number and I square it, and I'm going to get 1. So now x squared plus 2x is going to become x squared plus 2x plus 1. But I'm not allowed to do that, because x squared plus 2x does not equal x squared plus 2x plus 1. So I need to balance out my expression. So I do that by taking 1 away. So I have not changed the value of what I've got. Here in brackets, I have created my perfect square trinomial. And that minus 1 bit on the end is me balancing out my expression, because I can't just go around randomly adding 1 or adding any number that I like to an expression, okay, because then I'm changing its value. Now I'm going to do what you guys were practicing, which is to factorize my perfect square trinomial. It's going to factorize into x plus 1 squared. And then I've got to bring down the last bit, which is the minus 1 over there. Okay, are there any questions?
Miss Lee, Peter was asking where the 1 comes from.
Okay, so you get 1, all right, by taking half of the value of b. b is 2 in this case, so half of 2 is 1. You're going to take that and you're going to square it, and that's what you are adding to make your perfect square trinomial. Okay, that's where it came from. Let's see. So the value of c in this case is 0. The value of c is 0. So if I write here plus 0, and then over here and there I've got plus 0, minus 1, it's not going to change anything. All right, adding 0 is not going to change the value of my expression. So whether that 0 is there or not makes no difference. You can use it as a placeholder, but it doesn't have to be there. Sure, Kevin, no problem. I know that this is difficult to understand the first couple of times that we do it. Let's have a look at the next one. All right, I'm going to show you again. All right, let's look at this one. Okay, so I want to complete the square. So I've got x squared minus 9x. In order to complete the square, I need to make a perfect square trinomial. X squared minus 9x is not a perfect square trinomial. So to get my perfect square trinomial, I take half of whatever number is in front of the x. In this case, it's -9. It's an odd number. Half of -9 is -9/2. Then I take that number and I square it. I multiply it by itself. This means that I end up with 81/4. That's what I need to add to x squared minus 9x to make it a perfect square trinomial. So I'm going to add minus 9x. I'm going to add my 81/4 to the end. But my first line does not equal my second line. Okay, I can't just add 81/4 at the top and not at the bottom. It's like me writing, if I have something that says 3, and then I say to you equals 3 plus 2, am I writing the truth? I'm not, okay, because 3 does not equal 3 plus 2. But if I start with 3 and I say equals 3 plus 2 minus 2, now I am telling the truth because my answer is still 3. Okay, so whatever I add, all right, to make my perfect square trinomial, I've got to minus in order to balance out my expression. So I need to minus 81/4 as well. So now line number 1 equals line number 2. Now I'm going to factorize my perfect square trinomial. It's going to factorize to x minus 9/2 squared minus 81/4. Okay.
Miss Lee.
Potato, yes.
I'm sorry, Miss Lee, do you mind us just doing a check of maybe a thumbs up, thumbs down, how they're feeling right now?
Sure, absolutely. Let's do a check. I know
You
somebody
give us
was
a
saying they
thumbs
were
up,
lost.
guys.
Thumbs up or thumbs down? How are we feeling?
If you're feeling a little confused or lost, please put a thumbs down so we can get an indication.
Sure. Isn't it interesting how different everybody is? Hey.
Definitely.
No, don't say sorry, Barbie. It's fine. It's no problem. Okay, we're going to get this. I promise you it's going to make sense to you. I'm neutral. Okay, so that gives us an idea. So we've got a really sort of mixed response here. There are some people saying yes, and then there are other people saying absolutely no, not at all. Okay, Isa, did you have a question? Let's hear it. And then I can do another example with you guys. Go for it, Isa. Hello.
Ma'am, my name is Isa.
Sorry, what's your name?
Isa.
Isa. Sorry, Isa.
Isa.
My apologies. Okay, sorry. Go for it.
I just wanted to ask, why didn't we just like take out the common factor of x and say x open bracket x minus 2 close brackets?
Okay, so if you're doing that, you would be factorizing the expression. You wouldn't be completing the square. Okay, so you're doing something to the expression, but you're not doing the thing to the expression that we're asking you to. Right, so in maths, like with all subjects, we've got to answer the question that's asked with us. And if they specify to us in grade 11 that we need to do something by completing the square, that's the method that they expect us to use. This is the technique that they expect us to use. All right, so, and they're very clear about that. If they say to you, do this by completing the square, and you don't, you're not going to get any marks at all. All right, so it is a technique that you need to learn to understand how to do it. So remember what we are doing here. We're not solving for anything. We're not trying to work out the value of x. We are taking an expression that's written in one way, and we are rewriting it in a different way. Okay, so we're taking an expression that's written in the form ax squared plus bx plus c, and we're writing it in the form a times x plus b squared plus q. All right, we're not changing its value. We're not solving for x. We are just rewriting something in a different way. Okay, so try and bear that in mind as I'm going through these particular questions. So x minus 2, where is the 2 coming from? Which 2? Which 2 are you talking about, Tando? I don't see an x minus 2 anywhere here. All right, let's take another question. Monica, you're welcome to ask.
Ma'am, there at B, how did you get 9/2?
Okay, so remember we took half of -9. Okay, so this is the technique. This is the technique of completing the square. This is completing the square over here. Oopsie, sorry, my pen's going fine. So this is the technique of completing the square. So if I have the number -9 and I work out half of it, half of -9 is -9/2.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so if I've got an odd number, I'm going to end up with a fraction. If I've got an even number, I'm going to end up with a whole number. Okay.
Okay, ma'am.
All right, no problem. Okay, so I'm going to show you another one. Let's have a look at question C, okay? And then if you've still got questions, I'm more than happy to take that. So it's x squared plus 8x plus 10. Okay, so here we've got x squared plus 8x plus 10. X squared plus 8x plus 10 is not a perfect square trinomial. Okay, so something like x squared plus 2x plus 1 is a perfect square trinomial. So here, I don't need to complete the square. Here, the square is already complete, and I can simply write it like that. I cannot do that with x squared plus 8x plus 10. So I have to manipulate my expression without changing its value. So what I'm going to do is this. I'm going to keep the x squared and the 8x together, and I'm going to leave a space where I can add in a value that's going to make x squared plus 8x into a perfect square trinomial. But I can't ignore the fact that I've got the plus 10 there. So I'm going to keep the plus 10 on the end. Now I'm going to complete the square. So I take half of whatever b is 8 in this case, and this gives me 4. I take 4 and I square it and I get 16. So now I'm adding 16 on, right? This is now a perfect square trinomial. But x squared plus 8x plus 10 does not equal x squared plus 8x plus 16 plus 10 because I've added in 16. So I've got to balance my expression out, and I have to take 16 away at the end. Otherwise, what I have done here is I have changed the value of my question, and I'm not allowed to do that. Now I'm going to factorize my perfect square trinomial. It factorizes into x plus 4. Sorry, that's very badly written. I beg your pardon. Let me just clean that up a little bit. Okay, so it's going to factorize into x plus 4 squared, and then on the end I've got 10 minus 16, and that becomes minus 6. So I've gone from standard form into turning point form. Okay, so let's go and have a look what you guys are saying in the chats. Yes, Kat, it is necessary to add the 16 to make a perfect square trinomial. There we go, my label, very nice. How do you know if it's a perfect square or not? Okay, so Potato, that is a very, very good question. And I'm not giggling because I'm giggling because it's actually an excellent question. If you can see, so for example, if you have a look, there's a relationship between the value of b and the value of c. Okay, so when I say the value of b and the value of c, I mean as in ax squared plus bx plus c. So there is a relationship between the value of b and the value of c. Okay, if c is half of b squared, then it's a perfect square trinomial. So c needs to be half of b squared. If this is happening, then it's a perfect square trinomial. So for example, if I give you x squared plus 10x plus 25, that's a perfect square trinomial because half of 10 is 5. 5 squared is 25. Does that make sense to you? So I can write this like that. If I give you x squared minus 16x plus 64, that is a perfect square trinomial because, okay, half of negative 16 is negative 8. Negative 8 squared is 64. So I can write that as x minus 8 squared. So there is a relationship between this number over here in front of the x term and this number over here, the c term. So if you have a look at x squared plus 8x plus 10, all right, half of 8 is 4. 4 squared is 16, not 10. So this is not a perfect square trinomial. Okay, does that answer your question? Oh, good, Barbie. I'm so glad. Good, Saket. Okay, it's there. Okay. Oh, it makes so much sense. All right. Lovely. Lovely, 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 lovely. Okay. So let's give you one to try. Let me just read this question. Okay, so Zesties, what I'm going to do is I'm going to give everybody else an opportunity to try a couple of questions, and then I'm going to explain that to you again so that you understand what it is that I'm doing. So let me just scroll down. Okay, so here you go. You guys, the rest of you that are all feeling good, you're going to try these questions, A, D, and G. All right, ignore me for now. I'm going to explain that other question again. Okay, so just listen carefully here on the side. So we had x squared plus 8x plus 10. Okay, so not a perfect square trinomial. So what I'm doing is I'm keeping the x squared and the 8x together, and I'm completing the square. I'm going to take half of 8 is 4. Take 4 and square it, that gives me 16. So now when I add 16 in here, this is now a perfect square trinomial. But I cannot ignore the fact that the plus 10 was also part of the sum. But my first line and my second line are not equal to one another because I have added in 16. So I need to take 16 away to balance that line out so that it still equals the first line. What is in brackets is my perfect square trinomial, and it factorizes to x plus 4 squared. And now if I'm on the number line and I'm starting at 10 and I'm taking away 16, I would end up with negative 6. Okay, so that's where it comes from. Oh, excuse me. Oh, excuse me. Sorry. Okay, let's have a look here. Now it makes sense. Good, am I clear? Yes. So Naledi, you always halve the value of b, so that's the coefficient of the x term, and then you square it, and that is what you add to make your perfect square trinomial. And whatever you've added in, you've got to take away off the end in order to balance your expression. It's a pleasure, absolute pleasure. Okay, so you guys try A, D, and G, and let's see how you get on with that. Okay, well done, everybody. That's wonderful.
Miss Lee, is it possible to maybe give the students a breakdown of the typical steps you would follow to complete the square?
Okay, so the first thing that you're going to do is, let's just clear some space here. Actually, you know what? I've got it in a very nice format down here. There we go. There's a summary of the basic procedure. You're welcome to take a screenshot of that.
Thank you, Miss Lee.
Okay, so don't worry about number 1 for now because the coefficient of x squared is already plus 1. So we are adding and subtracting half of the coefficient of x squared And then we're going to factorize the perfect square trinomial. So take a screenshot of that. Okay, so now I see there's some answers coming through here. Let's have a look. Okay, so I see some answers for A.
Keep those answers coming, guys.
Yeah, absolutely. It's okay, Letty. It doesn't matter that you're struggling. Okay, it is going to be difficult because 3 is not an even number. Okay, so you're going to be working with fractions in this case. It is a difficult question, but I promise I'm going to go through it with you again. Okay. All right, so we've got some nice answers for A there, so that's looking good.
Miss Lee, Nkosi is
Yes.
asking how many marks a question like this usually is.
Okay, so if it's an easier one like these ones here, so like A, D, and G, I would imagine that there would be, it probably wouldn't be out of much, maybe 2, maybe 3 marks at the most. But if it was a more difficult question, then it would be out of a lot more. Okay, so then it probably might be out of, say, 4, maybe even 5 marks. Okay. Okay, so we've had a whole bunch of answers come through for A. Cass has put up an answer for question D. Thank you, Cass. The rest of you keep trying. So while you guys are still busy on D and G, I'm just going to do the solution for A quickly. You guys keep working. Excuse me. Okay, so that's the answer we should have had in A.
Good work, guys.
Yes. Yeah, so just because you end up with a horrible fraction there, Cass, doesn't mean that you're necessarily wrong, okay?
Miss
Yes,
Lee?
yes.
Oh, no, I was about to say.
Patego's got a question, sure, no problem. Go for it, Patego.
Ma'am, at the first step, you said x squared minus 4x plus 4, then brackets minus 4 outside the brackets. So my question is, what I did, where you wrote the plus 4, I wrote minus 2, and then outside the brackets, I wrote minus 4. So where did you get the plus 4 from?
Okay, so you can't add in and subtract a different number because then it's not going to be balanced. So if you look at something like this, again, if I start with the number 3, and then I say equals 3 and I add 2, and then I come along and I take away 1, is that true? Is 3 going to be equal to 3 plus 2 minus 1? It's not. Okay, so whatever you plus in is what you have to minus out. Okay, so with all of these, you'll see whatever we have added in is what we have taken away as well in order to maintain it being balanced. So you can't add 2 here, okay, because you were supposed to be adding 4. So it's got to be half of b squared. That's what you've got to add. Okay, you've got to take half of b and square it, and that's got to be what you are adding, and it's also got to be what you are taking away.
Okay, ma'am, I think I understand.
Hey,
Thank
do you
you.
think you understand? Okay, I know this
Yes,
is a
ma'am.
difficult, no problem. I know this is a difficult concept. All right, so I'm just going to go through the answer to D. I see a lot of you putting answers in the chat, which are very nice. So we look at that and we can see it's not a perfect square trinomial. I'm going to put the 8 on the end. And then over here, I would have to add in 9, and I must minus 9 in order to balance it. So this gives me x minus 3 squared minus 1. And I see that's what a lot of you put in as your answer to D, which is really nice. Ooh, okay, they're all easy. Okay, so we're ready to do some difficult ones now. Okay, so Sonic, I'm looking at you in particular. I don't know why, but your name just stuck out to me. And earlier you had a big thumbs down. And now I see you putting in answers that are perfectly correct to difficult questions. So this looks good. All right, so question G, let's just quickly go through that. All right, so here we've got x squared plus 3x, and our minus 8 is on the end. In order to complete the square, we have to work out what half of 3 is, and then we need to square it. So half of 3 is 3 over 2, or 1.5. And I'm going to take 3 over 2, and I'm going to square it, and that's going to give me 9 over 4. So 3 over 2 times 3 over 2 is 9 over 4. That's what I am adding in to complete the square and give me a perfect square trinomial. And it is what I am taking away in order to balance my expression. So this is going to give me x plus 3 over 2 squared. And then if I have negative 8 and I subtract 9 over 4, this is where my minus 41 over 4 comes from. Okay, all right, let's see how that's going.
Miss Lee, is there?
Yes.
Yeah, I was about to say, Paul asking about a different way to do this. Is there one?
Yeah, so unfortunately, in Paul, there's not a different way to do this. This is the only way you can complete the square. Okay, so yeah, unfortunately, there isn't another method. This is a technique that we have to learn. Okay, Pila. Okay, now Pila, look, you've got minus in the brackets and I've got plus. Okay, so Pila and anybody else, if your middle term is a plus, then you've got a plus here in your brackets. If your middle term is a minus, let's just get a different color. Let's get green. If your middle term is a minus, like this one, then there's going to be a minus in the brackets. Okay, so when you complete the square, you are always going to be adding. This last term here that you add in is always going to be a plus, and you're always going to be balancing it by minusing at the end. Okay, so that last value can be a positive one or a negative one, depending on what you had originally and what you've taken away. Oh, okay, no problem. Where does it?
Miss Lee?
Yes.
I'm sorry, Tando is confused about in A where the minus 4 at the end came from, and then in G as well where that minus 8 came from.
Okay, so the minus 8 was part of the question. Okay, so the minus 8, sorry, I got my pen the other way around. All right, so here, this minus 8 over there is the same minus 8 that's here. It was part of the question. Okay, what was the other thing that people were asking about, Label?
The minus 4 in A. The minus 4 at the end.
Okay, the minus 4 at the end. Okay, so I'm balancing there, all right? Because I added 4 in to make my perfect square trinomial, I've got to take 4 away in order to balance. Just like when I added in 9 over 4 over here, I had to take 9 over 4 away in order to. Okay, so I'm always going to add in half of b squared, and I'm always going to subtract half of b squared. Okay, please go back to D. Sure, there it is. There's D. You can take a screenshot or whatever. Oh, I'm so glad, Tando. That's wonderful news. I'm glad it's making more sense.
Miss Lee, are you able to
Yes.
explain B again?
Sure.
For SCP?
Yes, so Letty wants to try another one. Absolutely. Okay, so let me make up a couple more for people to try. So Letty and anybody else who's feeling strong at this point, let's give you guys a couple more. So let's give you x squared. Okay, and then I'm going to make this one a little bit more difficult.
Mukana said no, a big no to the hard ones.
Okay. No, there's not an easier way, Tashreeq, I'm afraid. This is the only method for completing the square. Okay, it's easier ways to solve quadratic expressions. It's an easier way to solve quadratic equations and by completing the square, but this is the only thing that you can do here for completing the square. Yes, in Ganati, I'm giving you Nozi Busiso, you can, but you know what's going to end up happening is that you then end up multiplying them out instead of factorizing them. So yeah, I would stay away from that. And then let me make up a, does anybody, let's see if we want a really difficult one. Okay, so here we've got easy, difficult, and very difficult. So you guys can try that. All right, and I'm going to go back through question B again, was it? X squared minus 8x. Sorry, question D. X squared minus 6x plus 8. X squared minus 6x plus 8. So if you're feeling strong, you're going to do 1, 2, or 3. And then I'm explaining D again for anybody who didn't understand it. Okay, so x squared minus 6x plus 8 is not a perfect square trinomial. Okay, that is because 8 does not equal half of negative 6 squared. So it's not a perfect square trinomial. So we need to make a perfect square trinomial by completing the square. And then we're going to factorize our perfect square trinomial and collect our like terms. So we're going to put together x squared minus 6x, and now we're going to complete the square. So half of negative 6 is negative 3. I'm going to take that number and I'm going to square it. That gives me 9. So this is what I'm adding in to make a perfect square trinomial. Then I'm going to bring the plus 8 down. And in order to balance out this 9 that I have added in, I need to take 9 away. So now what I have written here in the first line is equal to what I have here in the second line. Okay, because this is an expression. It's not an equation. It doesn't have two sides. Okay, so I have to balance it by adding and subtracting the same amount. This becomes, what I'm putting my brackets around, that becomes your perfect square trinomial. So it factorizes to x minus 3 squared. Okay, so that is going to be half of whatever b is. Okay, and now I've got 8, and I'm going to take away 9. So if I've got 8 and I take away 9, I'm going to be left with negative 1. All right. Okay, so I can see people are starting to put answers up. That's great, everybody. Nice, nice, nice. Okay, so keep going. You guys are doing very well. Okay, so I'm going to do an answer to number 1, just here on the side, for those people that have done number 1. So then when you've done number 1, try number 2 and see if you can do number 3. Let's see if we had that as an answer. Yes, Jada, even me. Yes, good job, Wanga. I've got the same answer as you. Ayabonga, that's lovely. Sake, we've got the same answer. Potego, we've got the same answer. Sonic, we've got the same answer. Ongani's got the same answer. Teboho, Jada, iPhone. Oh, good. Well done. Okay. We're getting somewhere. Very nice. Good job, everybody. Okay, Sonic, you on to the next one. Sure, you guys are doing this really quickly. So I'm just clearing some space here. Okay, Ntando. Where, hang on a second. Ntando. Oh, you're Lisa. Okay, it's better than calling you iPhone. All right. So, Ntando. Ma'am, how did you get 4 if 8 minus 16 is 8? I agree with you that 8 minus 16 is 8. Where, for which question was that? Where did I write the answer was 4? Question 1. Okay, because I'm factorizing the perfect square trinomial. There's my perfect square trinomial. Okay, so x minus 4 times x minus 4 is x squared minus 8x plus 16. Okay. All right, I'm going to do an answer to number 2 to see whether we're getting the same answers here. It's going to give us 49 over 4. Here's our perfect square trinomial. There we go. I definitely saw this answer in the chat. Let's go and have a look here. Yes, Optima, I don't know if that's your name or the device you're using. Yes, that's fine. That's not a problem. Okay. There we go. Sake, I got the same answer as you. Oh, yes. Sorry, CM Tunda. I just was putting the answers up so that people could mark. But yes, I'm more than happy to do an explanation. That's fine. I'm just having a look at the sort of answers that we've got here. Okay, all right, good, well done. Okay, so CM Tanda, which one did you want me to explain while I did it? Number 2. No problem. All right, so I'm going to explain where the minus 113 comes from, Boucher, not a problem. Not a problem. And then we just need to do number 3 as well. If any of you are feeling particularly brave, this was the next one that I was going to do with you, but unless you've done this at school, I wouldn't try this now because I haven't shown you what to do here. You've got to take out the 2 as a highest common factor. I wonder if I should just put up another difficult one just to keep you guys busy while I'm doing. Let's just slip in another one here. Now I'm being really mean. Okay, really, really, really mean. Okay, all right, there we go. It's the most difficult one I can think of. Okay, so Tanda, this is what I was doing here. Let's just get rid of all of this. I think everybody's okay with the first one. Okay, so in number 2, Tanda, we've got x squared plus 7x. We're leaving a space to complete the square, and I'm putting the minus 16 over here. So on the side, when I complete the square, I've got half of 7, which is 7 over 2, 7 divided by 2, and then I've got to take 7 over 2, and I need to square it. So 7 times 7 is 49, and 2 times 2 is 4. So that is what I've got to add in to complete my square, and it's what I need to take off the end in order to balance my expression. This is now my perfect square trinomial. Okay, so in brackets, I've got x plus 7 over 2, because if I multiply that by itself, I get x squared plus 7x plus 49 over 4. And then I'm going to do this bit at the end here on the calculator. Okay, so I'm going to press minus 16 minus 49 over 4, and that's where you're going to end up with the negative 113 over 4 from. Okay, so your calculator has said minus 16 minus 49 over 4 to get that negative 113 over 4. Okay, that's where it comes from. Okay, I agree with him, Paul. Thank you, Paul. That's very kind of you. Much appreciated. Yeah, when they do it, the more you do them, the easier it becomes. It's like with everything, you know, like when you start learning how to drive, you know, when you first start learning how to drive, it's a disaster because you don't know how to let the clutch out, and you stamp too hard on the brakes, and it's difficult. And the more you drive, the easier it becomes. Like everything, it's like playing a sport, you know. So yeah, practice and it becomes easier. Okay, now number 3, I see we've got answers up for that, so let's just go through number 3. So that was x squared minus 3 over 2x plus 4, so that gives us x squared minus 3 over 2x, and now we want to complete the square. So that gives us minus 3 over 4, and then when we square it, we end up with 9 over 16. So we're going to add in 9 over 16. We're going to take away 9 over 16. Oh, come now. The silly pen. Sorry, guys. Okay, so lots going on in the chat here. I just want to catch up with you guys. So here, x minus 3 over 4 squared, and then 4 minus 9 over 16. Ah, I saw this answer come up a lot. Let's go and have a look. Okay, I think there's a lot of you that got this answer. Oh, wow. That looks like that was a very nasty one. Sure, guys. Very nice. Oh, good, Patego. I'm so glad. That's awesome. Okay. All right, so you've already... There we go. Okay, so Sonic, I've gone back to you. Ayabonga, you've got the 55 over 16 as well. Shaquille, you've got the same thing. Just be careful, it's not an equals, it's a plus. Okay, and then I saw other people up here had it as well. Ayabonga, yes. Nyasha, very nice. Just be careful, it was minus 3 over 4, not minus 3 over 2. Okay, good. Well done. Very, very nice. I'm super impressed. Sure. Okay. All right, let's have a look at number 4. So I see you guys are putting... Okay, so all of you are saying the answer is x minus 5 over 6. squared minus 385 over 36. Who's the first person who put that into our chat level?
Sorry, Leah, I couldn't get that. I was kicked out because of my network.
Oh, were you
I'm
kicked
so
out?
sorry.
Okay, let's have a look. So Ayapunga, Camille.
Oh, Peterful and Camille said
Yeah,
them.
they did. Camille, are you happy to explain this to us? Are you happy to unmute and explain? Do you feel brave enough? We'd love to hear your voice. I'd love to hear your voice. It was me. Oh, Patego, it was you. Okay. Oh, Patego was the first. Yes, Monica, go for it. Okay, yeah, so you're quite right. This would have to be a plus. Okay, can't be a minus. Okay, Monica, go for it.
Hello, ma'am.
Hi, Monica.
First, I found the perfect trinomial for it. Wherefore, I used the half multiplied by 5 over 3. That gave me 5 over 6. And then 5 over 6 squared gave me 25 over 36. And then, ma'am, I opened a bracket and then I said x squared plus 5 over 3x plus 25 over 36, close bracket, minus 10 minus 25 over 36.
Wow. Wow, 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 wow. That is amazing. Keep going, Monica. I love it.
And then the first 3 terms are your perfect square. So I said open bracket x plus 5 over 6, close bracket squared, minus 385 over 36.
Wow,
And that was
you
that.
guys, beautiful, Monica. Wow, that is absolutely stunning. Well done. So if you did the same thing as Monica, and I see a lot of you have, that is beautiful. Sorry, Camille, I didn't know if it was you or if it was Monica, but you guys really, you are all rock stars. That is absolutely brilliant. Well, well, well done. So now let's have a thumbs up or a thumbs down compared to how you were feeling in the beginning. How do you feel now? Okay, so if the thumbs down, oh, shame. Okay, Camille, thank you for forgiving me. How do you feel now? Oh, lovely. Cool. Wow. Oh, it's an absolute pleasure. You guys are brilliant. Mr. S is so lucky to have you. Oh, Camille, that's very kind. Yeah, sorry, you didn't get your brain break. Sorry.
Yeah, there's no stretching today, but it will be back when Mr. S comes back.
Yes, Mr. S comes back, you'll get your brain break. So my apologies that you didn't have it today. Okay, well, that's the most important thing, is that brilliant for was. Brilliant, brilliant, brilliant. As long as you guys are feeling good and it's making sense, then I'm absolutely thrilled. Okay, so we did start a couple of minutes late. So what I want to do, yes, and Paul, I just want to finish off there. Yes, absolutely, Beverly, because I did start a couple of minutes late. So let's just do this one. Let me just grab it and put it over here. Come on. Okay, there we go. So if we have a look at a question like this one, this is different to the others because there is a 2 in front of the x squared. So you cannot complete the square if the number in front of the x squared is anything other than a positive 1. So what we have to do now is some pretty funky factorizing, okay? So what we're going to do is we're going to take this 2 out as a highest common factor. I'm going to use square brackets. So I'm taking it out as a highest common factor. So in brackets, I've got x squared. And now here I've got minus 7 over 2x plus 3. Okay, so I've taken 2 out. So in other words, if I multiply 2 with x squared, I get 2x squared. If I multiply 2 with negative 7 over 2x, I get negative 7x. And if I multiply 2 with positive 3, I get plus 6. Now I'm going to start the process of completing the square all over again, but now I'm inside the square brackets, okay? So I'm going to bring down the 2. I'm going to bring down the x squared minus the 7 over 2x. Now I'm going to complete the square. So half of negative 7 over 2, you guys know how it goes now, gives us negative 7 over 4. And then we've got to take that negative 7 over 4 and we've got to square it. So that gives us 49 over 16. Now we're going to add that in, just like we've done before. Nothing is different here. And then I'm going to bring down the plus 3. And then I've got to take away 49 over 16. And now I'm going to close my brackets. Okay. So there is your perfect square trinomial once more. Bring down everything, bring down the 2, factorize your perfect square trinomial. So it's going to be x minus 7 over 4 squared. And then we've got the 3, and we've got to take away 49 over 16. This leaves us with minus 1 over 16. And now it's like you're back in grade 8. So remember in grade 8, we learned how to distribute. Okay, we learned how to remove brackets by saying 2 times x gives us 2x and 2 times 2 gives us 4. We're doing exactly the same thing here. We want to get rid of the square brackets. So I've got to multiply 2 by each term inside the square brackets. So 2 times x minus 7 over 4 squared is 2 times x minus 7 over 4 squared. Now I've got to multiply 2 by negative 16. It's negative 1 over 16, and that's going to leave me with negative 1 over 8 square brackets are gone. Okay. Yeah, exactly, level. Okay, because we are not dividing through by 2. We're not solving an equation. We are manipulating an expression. Okay. Yeah, exactly. No, so that's why I'm poor. That's why we can't divide by 2. Whoopsie. Oh, sorry, I went too far. There you go. Do you want me to make it smaller? I'm quite sure how to zoom. Lebo, do you know how to zoom?
What if you used your mouse pad, Lee, and just
That's, yeah, hold on. There we go. Okay, so I've zoomed out. There you go. You should be able to take a screenshot of that. There you go. Yeah, unfortunately, we're done. We're done. Okay, so yeah, please take a screenshot. I think there's the poll that we need to answer as well. So please do the poll and then you're welcome to go. If you've got any questions, I'm happy to answer them. Bootle, I see you've got a question, go for it. Oh, sorry, it's Barbie. Sorry, I took my glasses off. Go for it, Barbie.
Guys, please fill out the poll before you go.
Not today. Today is poll day, and then we'll do the quiz on Thursday. Sorry, on Wednesday. Okay,
Thank you so much, Miss Lee.
It's a pleasure. It's a pleasure.
Amazing.
No problem. Okay, so Pamela, oh, you didn't see it. Okay, no problem, Bobby, not a problem. All right, so Pamela, you're asking, how is it a negative and not a positive where the Q is? Okay, so that is because you had 3 and you took away 49 over 16. 49 over 16 is bigger than 3. That's why we ended up with a negative. Okay. Let's see if there are just any other questions before we say goodbye. Yes, Bushe. Oh, Patego, I'm so glad to hear that. Please, please, please do recommend Watobe to all your friends. That's lovely. I'm so glad you love it here.
You guys should stay until matric with Watobe, and then you'll have
Yes,
Miss Lee.
please
Yeah.
do. Please do. Please do. Okay, ma'am, can you please explain the second to last step? With pleasure. Okay, so now it's as simple as grade 8 distribution. Okay, we're taking away the square brackets. We're getting rid of the square brackets over here. Okay, so what I'm doing is I'm multiplying the 2 into the first by the first term, and then I'm multiplying the 2 by the second term to get rid of those square brackets. Okay, so it's simply a case of going 2 times your first bracket gives you this answer. There's your first term. And then 2 times minus 1 over 16 is minus 1 over 8. There is your second term. Okay, so we're just getting rid of the square brackets. It's a pleasure. Oh, I'm so glad. Oh, thank you, Barbie. I really appreciate that. That's very kind of you. Thank you so much for coming, everybody. Have a wonderful evening. And yes, Mr. S will be with you again on Wednesday. Pleasure, 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 pleasure. Yes, absolutely. It's a pleasure. Enjoy your evening. Take care, everybody. I'll miss you too. You guys are wonderful. Thank you so much. I've had so much fun being with you tonight. No, Amogelang, there's no quiz today. Quiz is on Wednesday. Pleasure. Bye, everyone. Have a good week at school. It's a pleasure, Tlotlo. Yes, Sir will do the shout out. Thank you, Zisizwe, you too. You're going to be continuing with completing the square, but you're going to be using it to solve equations. Okay, so you'll be working with equations and not with expressions.